Good evening and welcome to Dating in Modern Age Reunion Part 1. My name is Rosie Blair. I am a fashion blogger and Instagram influencer. I'm also on TikTok a little bit, but I don't dance. Over the past 10 weeks, friends and podcast hosts Alex and Nikki have been interviewing bachelors for one another, resulting in 3 one-on-one Zoom dates and 1 fan favorite date each. The lucky 6 who were selected are here today. Congrats to Darius and Ito for winning both a one-on-one date and a fan favorite date. Where do their relationships stand since filming several months ago? We'll find out tonight on Dating in the Modern Age. Let's reintroduce our bachelors. Darius Y. from Euless, Texas. Nick G. from Chicago, Illinois. Bert F. from Annapolis, Maryland. Ito R. from St. Louis, Missouri. Brendan has declined our invitation today, but we will hear more on that later. Adam A. had to cancel last minute, but we'll be recording some of his answers separately. And of course, our ladies, Nikki and Alex. This question is open to anyone. How do you feel Zoom dates are different than in-person dates?
I was way more willing to say things on Zoom dates than I would, I think, in real in-person dates. I think I got deeper, as you would say, earlier on. I feel like it would be like, I don't know, 5th, 6th date before I asked some of the questions that I asked.
This was my first time ever doing a Zoom date, and I was a little nervous just because I feel like, it just had that virtual feel, which doesn't really feel necessarily authentic, but I was surprised that it really just felt natural, and since then I've actually scheduled other Zoom dates, so it was a good experience. The problem, of course, with in-person dates, and the problem with Zoom dates is that you don't get to read body language. And, in person, you can read body language. You can say, oh, let's go over to another bar after this, or if it goes really well, you can go home afterwards. So that is the downfall to Zoom dates, but I'm glad I did the experience.
Body language is definitely a thing. I didn't notice that. This was my first Zoom date ever, but it was something I thought about during it.
Yeah, I think you're more aware of like yourself as you're like looking at you on the camera. So you're like, wait, that's what I look like when I'm talking. That's weird. But I think you're right. It's like you're more aware of yourself than when you're just like in person with someone.
I think also because a lot of us were like in our homes usually when we were on the dates, it kind of brings a different level to your comfortability, kind of like what Nikki was saying about that, that comfort you feel, even though it is a Zoom date, you kind of feel a different level of comfortability.
A lot of times with in-person dates, when I go on them, like on the way there, I'm reviewing the conversations we've had on the apps or whatever. I'm like pumping myself up. But with Zoom dates, there's not much time I have to like mentally prepare for the dates, like go through the conversation we had, like, oh yeah, what is she into? What does she like? What are some jokes we had? So there's just less prep time built in for a Zoom date than an in-person date.
And I was just thinking that all the environmental factors that when you're dating someone often like inform the date heavily. So this is just sort of just 2 floating talking heads looking at each other on a screen. So a little different than in person. So
All of your dates had some interesting moments. What were your favorite moments? What moments were the most awkward?
I didn't find like there were any real awkward moments. We had a pretty solid conversation that seemed to last for the full hour without really feeling at any moment that we had any awkward silence. I felt like we just were able to converse pretty well, and it was nice. It was a nice just connection. Like she's someone that'd be like, oh yeah, so totally someone I'd go out drinking with, like 100%, because we had a great time.
I think the first date was awkward just because we had to do cook, and then also meet someone for the first time, and then try to not make something edible while also getting to know someone. So I think for the first half of the date, it was pretty just sort of basic questions. And then only till maybe the end of the date that I felt it was kind of, the conversation was able to kind of get into kind of interesting, deeper territory, I guess.
Well, I thought after the date, I was like, oh, he ignored me the first half, the whole time we were cooking. And then I watched the date and I was like, oh, you look very disinterested because you're so worried about not burning your food. So I think that was interesting watching, my perception was so much different during than what was actually happening.
What about you, Nick? What was your most favorite and most awkward moment?
The most awkward was, I think, just the way my kitchen was set up. I had my phone on a ledge, and I remember it fell down a couple times. And I was also out of the frame, like running through the refrigerator and running to the stove. So it probably seemed like I was like manic or something. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. All right.
I don't know. I feel like you're just talking to yourself now.
Yes, a little bit. Like,
Like
where did it go?
Nick kept dropping pots and pans. I was like, what's happening to him?
Yes, that's true. And the best part was when Alex mentioned that like a proposal at a brunch date was like the best. I will try that in the future, maybe. So overall, it was a really great time, and the awkwardness was only due to my phone or my clumsiness around the kitchen. One of the two for sure, but who can say which one?
Darius, what about you?
Definitely the funniest I think was when Alex said, "I like murder."
So I like murder, like murder.
You do? Okay. And just the way, just the delivery, I think, just kind of took me for a surprise. The most awkward thing, nothing on the date, but right before I guess the trial when Nikki was asking all the questions, and she was just back to back, and her delivery is so. I need the truth now. And so that was probably the most awkward part because there were some heavy hitting questions and I wasn't really ready for all of them, but.
I need the truth now. That is so Nikki.
What he's saying is I look like a bitch.
Oh.
Whoa.
I mean, no, I can. No, it's 100% the truth.
No, you have like a prosecutorial kind of style. Like cross-examining the daters. That's good.
Alex had full-blown conversations with all of you guys, and I was like, question, done, question, done.
Bert, what about you? Favorite moment, most awkward moment?
I would agree that after the cooking part, we were able to delve into some deeper topics because we didn't have our eye, halfway off the screen the whole time. But so yeah, when we were talking about adventurous stuff we've done and like we both love reading, it was like a better conversation. But something I thought was funny, like even over the Zoom, like when you're eating, like, and somebody will ask you a question, like right before, like after you put something in your mouth, it's like on Zoom, it's like just as awkward as in person.
We've just heard from the guys some of their most favorite and awkward moments of the dates. When we get back, we're going to hear from Nikki and Alex about their side of the story. Stick around. Welcome back to Dating in the Modern Age. It's time to hear from the girls about how their dates went. Alex, what were your favorite and most awkward moments from the dates?
Well, I loved when Nick did magic, but I I picked like a really, really big number, and your trick had like you had to count like all the numbers. I was like, oh my God, I'm such an for picking 43 or something. You were like 1, 2.
1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 38, 39. Wouldn't it be amazing if the 40th card was a red card, like the Queen of Hearts? Sometimes
We were
people
there
pick like
for, like,
51 or 52.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, okay, well, I should have mentioned that I will be counting each of these numbers. I know all my numbers. It was fine. I was embarrassed. I think I got all of them right. So.
You did a good job. The magic was fun. Yeah, I mean, I think that was great. I think the most awkward was definitely probably Nick dropping all the stuff. Like he was off camera like half the time he was cooking. But when we sat down, we got into the deep stuff, and yeah, so that was good.
Nikki, I know you mentioned a few things already, but do you have any awkward or funny moments?
I mean, I had a lot of awkward moments, but I think, with Adam and his bags that he gave girls.
So I would have somebody come over, and then like we'd go in the pool half the time, and then they'd stay over, and they'd be like, they need a t-shirt after the pool, because usually we're skinny dipping in the pool, so they would need like a t-shirt. So I'd be like, oh, here, I have all sizes, choose whatever, and then I usually try to give it back. I'm like, no, just take it. But it's worse. I would also give like a swag bag. I'd be like, here, do you want a copy of my book? And here's a magnet and a sticker too. Like I would be like, here, just let me give you all my swag. And so they would have a parting gift to go home with.
I opened up more about myself than I even knew I did. Like watching back, I was like, I offered up that I've tased myself. Who says that in real life? But I think like the best part was meeting people I guess I wouldn't necessarily meet every day.
Nikki and Alex, what made you decide to come onto the show?
We're so conditioned to see a certain type of person find love on TV. I think it perpetuates this idea you can only have the fairy tale if you're a certain size or look a certain way, or you're a certain religion or whatever. And this felt like it was like the anti-Bachelor, right? Like anyone can find love in the modern age. And we should be able to do that and see ourselves on TV doing it.
Also, we were both very single when you approached us.
What about the guys? What made you decide to come onto the show?
For me, I really like dating. People have approached me to be on dating shows before, and I really like the life I live, like living here in Chicago, all that. Most traditional dating shows, it's like, go away, put your life on hold, all of those things. And because this was 100% virtual, I thought, oh, this is perfect.
Definitely when I saw the premise of the show, I thought it was really cool, really inspiring to see a platform, see a different side of dating. And I'm really thankful that you all are able to present that. And of course, when I saw Alex, I had to fill that Google form out and try to get in this thing. And I'm thankful that it worked out.
I decided to come on the show. I saw, I guess you had posted like an ad kind of for it on TikTok, and I was like, oh, that seems kind of cool. And then when I actually like saw the premise and saw the anti-Bachelor type vibe of it, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I signed up.
So Darius, you mentioned in both your dates about getting a margarita with Alex sometime. You live in Texas, she lives in Chicago. I want to know, is this distance actually doable for you? Is it a deal breaker? Is a margarita going to happen in the future?
Yeah, I definitely think in the near future, probably maybe in the summertime, summer break, when I have a little bit more free time. I definitely don't think it's a deal breaker, especially like after this experience and seeing how easily it could happen virtually. I think it'll happen in the near future. I believe it.
Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, you just got to ask me out. That's all. I'm ready.
Has this experience opened up y'all's minds about Zoom dating in general?
I didn't do it at all during the pandemic because I was like, that's too much work. Like, we're in a pandemic. I can't handle that plus dating. Like, that's too much work. But now I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that could, like, it opens up a lot of avenues to like date people that don't live near you. I think I'm open to that,
My next question is for Bert. Bert, when you were asked about whether or not you want children, you said that you were not in a rush. And I know that there's an 8-year age gap between you and Alex. Is that a deal breaker for you?
No, I would say I don't find an age difference like that to be a deal breaker. If she was 8 years younger than me, that would probably be a problem. But no, I'd say, I mean, we're both in a similar stage of life, I would say. So, I mean, maybe I don't want kids at the age of 27, but, 28, 29, something like that wouldn't be not a deal breaker.
What is everyone else's thoughts on age difference in relationships?
Well, my last relationship, I was with a woman who was 7 years older than me. And initially I thought it wasn't a big deal, but it ended up kind of not working out because of that, because she's in a very different place in her life than I am. So, so it definitely is a factor for sure.
I think it definitely depends on the mindset of the people and also kind of the way y'all's trajectories align at that point in y'all's lives, because it could be that age difference could create issues if y'all are on different in different mindsets or have different ideals.
I'd say when it comes to the way, like my dating, I dated people, oh gosh, well, never mind. One time I dated someone and there was like a 20-year age difference. She was older than I was by 20 years. I was 24, she was 44. It was just fine, no issue.
This season, there was both drama on and off the screen. After the break, we'll find out more on dating in the modern age. Welcome back to Dating in the Modern Age. My next question is a little bit more scandalous. Nick, you made it clear when you were on a date with Alex that you like to date a lot of people. We later got a DM that you were in an open relationship. Is there a reason that you didn't disclose this earlier?
Great question. Let's see. I would say the way I date is I do date a lot of people. I'd say either I have 0 open relationships or who knows how many open relationships.
Could you ever see yourself in a monogamous relationship in the future?
Nothing's impossible. I was in a monogamous relationship for a whole 14 days in 2014. Before that, I was married for 2 years monogamously. For me, I don't know that I see right now the idea of a monogamous relationship being very realistic. For me, anyways.
In a serious open relationship?
Yeah, I would say that's true. Like, of the people I'm dating, a couple of them I've been dating since 2017 openly, and like we have like developed feelings for each other, but like it's possible to have more than one child and love both of the children or 3 of them. Like, I don't think that there's a limit of the number of people you can like develop strong feelings for.
There's a little more to the story here. Nikki and Alex, could you tell us how you found out about Nick's relationship status?
That's fine.
One of my followers matched with you on Hinge and saw our episode, and they were like, hey, FYI, like Nick is in a relationship.
I should have been more upfront about it, and I'm sorry that I was.
But you know what? You kind of were. After we watched the episode and we knew like that you were polyamorous, you mentioned multiple times that you do back-to-back dates often. Like you do like 3 dates in a day. Like
that's true.
That's a lot of energy. But you like once we watched back, we're like, oh, he did do like
he was like hinting. You were hinting.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of the guys, could you ever see yourself in an open relationship?
I would say no. I mean, a monogamous relationship is kind of exhausting enough as it is. So having an open one, I can only imagine would double or triple that.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who do that or do a version of it, but I've never done it myself. So
I don't know. I've never really thought about it like for myself. I think if I met someone and that's what they proposed to me, I don't know if I wouldn't want to just see how it went. But I've never really just thought about me doing it for myself.
One of our contestants, Brendan, declined our invitation to be here today. Nikki, you mentioned at the end of your date with Brendan that you would have kissed him. Did anything happen between you two?
We went on 5 more dates after we recorded. 2 more Zoom and then 3 in person. It was kind of easy because he's right outside of Chicago. We were not a match. He's a very nice guy. Just we weren't compatible. A lot of personality wise or just like lifestyle wise. But he's a very nice guy. We did kiss. So that would, but yeah. That's why he's not here.
By which date did you know?
I probably knew after our first in-person date that it wasn't going to work. But I did learn a lot going through the process with him and talking to him. I had conversations with him that I never had with anybody else. He was around when I found out that a guy I dated during the summer was a feeder. So we talked a lot about, I guess, me being fat, and I've never talked about that about that with somebody. So that I learned things from it.
We are just getting started. Be sure to tune in next week to Dating in the Modern Age as we continue the conversation.
I guess I've been accused of being a catfish before, even though I put very realistic photos of what I look like up.
I've definitely been on dates where I show up and there's like a visible like disappointment like comes across their face where it's like they were like, oh, I didn't think that you were that fat.
I started getting some new followers after my episodes aired, so I was like, well, I guess I didn't do so terribly that, so it's a good sign, I think.
Yeah, Darius, I don't know why you're thumbs upping that, because I know all those girls were trying to get a date.
I'm not surprised. That's good.
What is this bromance between you and Darius? Like, should you guys go on a date now?
It's no secret that the narrator of our show, Harper, got a little sassy and did not hold back.
That snarky voiceover that was third-rate writing was really poorly done.
But that you took zero initiative in the situation?
I took some initiative. I'm not totally zero, but I'd say 50% initiative.